Ladies and gentlemen, the real battle isn't outside of you. It's not the people, the problems, or the pressures. It's how you respond to what life throws at you. When you let someone else's words control your emotions, you've handed over the keys to your peace. And the truth is, peace was never meant to be outsourced. Peace is a decision made on the inside. No matter what chaos shows up on the outside, mastering peace doesn't begin when others behave better. It begins when you choose to respond differently. The moment you understand that your internal world has more power than your external surroundings, you take the first step toward true emotional freedom. Most people think peace is something that happens when life calms down, when people start treating you right, when situations improve. But peace is not a product of perfection. It's the result of internal leadership. You don't need to wait for people to stop annoying you, hurting you, or misunderstanding you to live in peace. You just need to stop giving them the power to affect what they didn't create. When you let someone's behavior determine your reaction, you've already surrendered control. But when you understand that your response is your responsibility, you take back what was never theirs to own. You can't control every situation. You can't silence every critic. But you can guard your heart, and in Bible we are said to guard it above all things, for it is the wellspring of life. The real war is not about what they say or do. It's about what you allow to take root inside you. If you allow offense to grow, it becomes bitterness. If you allow frustration to stay, it becomes resentment. But if you interrupt that cycle with faith, with perspective, with identity, it dies before it can take hold. You were not created to live reactive, constantly bouncing between emotional highs and lows depending on who approves of you or offends you. You were created to be steady, anchored, unshakable, not because people are perfect, but because your foundation is unchanging. In Bible, we are said that God will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in Him. That peace isn't shallow. It's not fake. It's not pretending everything is fine. It's the kind of peace that holds you steady when everything around you is shifting. People may never change, but your perspective can. The moment you stop expecting people to validate you, the freer you become. The moment you stop needing their apology to heal, you start walking in a different kind of strength. You realize that not every offense deserves your energy, and not every wound needs to become your identity. Peace is not something you wait for, it's something you lead with, and leadership begins inside. Offense is one of the enemy's favorite weapons, and the truth is it shows up daily, sometimes in words spoken too sharply, sometimes in being overlooked, sometimes in the silence of those who should have stood with you. But offense, as real and painful as it feels, is always a choice. It is always something offered, but never something that has to be received. The moment you understand that, you reclaim your peace. You realize that just because something hurtful was said doesn't mean you have to carry the wound. Just because something unfair happened doesn't mean you have to let it take root in your spirit. In Bible, we are said that it is to one's glory to overlook an offense. That doesn't mean you ignore the pain or pretend like it didn't happen. It means you choose to not let it define your inner world. You rise above it not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you pick up offense, you may feel justified for a moment, but in the long run, it burdens you more than anyone else. It locks you in a cycle of rehearsing the hurt, reliving the moment, and reducing your strength. That's how the enemy steals time, joy, and focus. Not always with destruction, but with distraction. There will always be someone who disagrees with you, misunderstands your intentions, or treats you like you're less than what you carry, but your value is not up for debate. You don't need to explain yourself to those who never had the spiritual eyes to see you. You are not everyone's assignment, and not everyone is capable of recognizing your calling. When Jesus was mocked, accused, and rejected, he didn't argue. He remained silent because he knew who he was. When you carry that level of clarity, offense becomes small compared to your purpose. You don't have to let every comment, every look, or every betrayal into your soul. You can feel the sting, but refuse to let it stay. You can acknowledge the pain without bowing to it. Your destiny is too important to be delayed by a daily offense. Your peace is too valuable to be sold for temporary validation. The more focused you are on who you're becoming, the less bothered you'll be by what's trying to stop you. And the more quickly you drop what was offered to break you, the faster you rise into what was meant to build you. Your worth was never meant to be determined by people, their opinions, or their treatment of you. It was already spoken by the one who made you. The world will try to measure your value based on how much you're liked, followed, applauded, or accepted. But the truth is, all of those things are unstable, temporary, and subjective. One moment they'll cheer for you, the next they'll criticize you. One day you'll be everyone's favorite, the next you'll be forgotten. That's why building your worth on people's validation is like building a house on sand. It can't stand when the storm comes. In Bible, we are said that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That truth was declared before anyone ever had an opinion about you, before the rejection, before the betrayal, before the applause, before the silence. Your identity was already set. When you start seeing yourself through the lens of divine truth, you stop shrinking to fit other people's comfort zones. You stop changing who you are just to be accepted. You stop chasing approval and start walking in purpose. You don't have to win everyone over. You don't have to explain your calling to people who weren't there when God gave it to you. Your validation doesn't come from likes, mentions, or praise. It comes from knowing you've already been chosen. That kind of confidence cannot be shaken by someone's bad mood, passive comment, or cold shoulder. It's rooted in something deeper, something unchangeable. When you know your worth, you stop reacting to rejection as a personal failure. You begin to understand that rejection is often redirection. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next season. Not everyone is qualified to understand the calling on your life. That doesn't mean you're too much. It means they're not equipped. When you finally grasp that, you become dangerous to every lie that ever told you that you're not enough. In Bible, we are said that we are God's workmanship, created for good works. You weren't created for people-pleasing. You were created for impact, for purpose, for divine assignments. And when your eyes are fixed on the one who made you, the noise of the crowd grows quiet. You no longer need them to affirm what heaven has already confirmed. Your worth is not up for debate. It is eternal, immovable, and sealed by the one who called you by name. There's a shift that happens when the voice inside you becomes louder than the noise around you. That's when true peace begins to take root. The world is loud. Opinions, distractions, negativity, criticism, it's all coming at you from every direction. But when your inner dialogue is grounded, clear, and focused, the chaos outside loses its grip. You stop reacting to everything because you're anchored in something deeper. The louder your inner peace, the quieter other people's drama becomes. Peace doesn't mean you live in a world without problems. It means you live in a mindset where problems no longer control your emotional climate. In Bible, we are said that the peace of God transcends understanding and will guard your heart and mind. That kind of peace isn't logical. It doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It's supernatural, and it starts from within. When you train your mind to respond with peace, you're not avoiding reality. You're mastering it. You become the thermostat in the room, not the thermometer. You set the emotional temperature instead of reacting to it. Most of what bothers people isn't even about them. It's about what's happening inside the other person, their bitterness, their insecurity, their need for control or attention. It's not your weight to carry. But if you haven't built a strong inner foundation, you'll absorb all of it like a sponge. You'll feel heavy without knowing why. You'll replay conversations, overthink looks, interpret silence as rejection. That's why building your inner peace is so essential. It protects you from becoming a prisoner of someone else's dysfunction. Your peace is your power. It's your protection. It's your statement to the world that you know who you are and what you carry. When Jesus stood in front of the storm, he didn't panic. He spoke peace. That same authority lives in you. You don't have to wait for the storm to pass to find calm. You can bring calm into the storm. But it requires intention. It requires choosing your response before the situation calls for one. In Bible, we are said that we are to let the peace of Christ rule in our hearts. That word rule implies authority. Peace isn't passive. It takes leadership. It means you don't just allow any thought or emotion to run wild. You put peace in charge. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. You respond from grounding, not impulse. And when you do that, people's drama starts sounding smaller. It loses its urgency. You no longer feel obligated to jump into every conflict or explain yourself every time you're misunderstood. When peace lives inside you, the volume of external noise starts to fade, not because it's gone, but because you're no longer tuned in. You're listening to something higher, stronger, and more enduring. That's the kind of peace that changes atmospheres and transforms lives, starting with your own. Emotional discipline is one of the most underrated forms of spiritual strength. Most people confuse it with suppression, as if choosing not to react means denying your feelings. But emotional discipline is not about pretending something didn't hurt or avoiding emotion altogether. It's about owning your response with wisdom, not reacting out of impulse. It's the strength to pause before speaking, the power to breathe before lashing out, the clarity to ask, is this worth my peace, my energy, my growth? It's not weakness, it's war strategy. Because not every battle is yours to fight, and not every insult deserves an audience. In Bible, we are said that a person slow to anger is better than the mighty. That means your ability to manage emotion is more powerful than brute strength. It takes more courage to stay calm in the face of provocation than it does to react in anger. And the reason is simple. Anger often feels like power, but it's really just reaction. True power lies in control. Not the kind of control that manipulates others, but the kind that governs yourself. That's the kind of control that builds leaders, that secures peace, that advances purpose. Every time you let someone else's behavior hijack your emotional state, you've given them authority over your inner life. That's expensive, that's draining, and it's unnecessary. You don't have to attend every emotional invitation thrown your way. You don't have to explain your silence or justify your peace. You don't even have to win every debate. Sometimes your greatest victory is found in your stillness, in not reacting, in letting God fight what you were never called to wrestle with. There's a divine reason why Scripture reminds us to be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. It's because wisdom speaks loudest through restraint. When your emotions are disciplined, your words become powerful. Your presence becomes grounded. People may try to stir you, provoke you, or manipulate your mood, but when you are anchored in emotional discipline, their attempts fall flat. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy to trigger. You become a force that moves in purpose, not pressure. Emotional discipline doesn't mean you're unfeeling. It means you feel deeply and still choose your response carefully. You no longer live at the mercy of moods or triggers. You become a guardian of your purpose, a protector of your peace, and a steward of your destiny. In that place, your energy is no longer wasted on emotional reactions. It's invested in the future you're called to build. When you learn to walk in forgiveness, you step into a realm of freedom that most people never experience. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's not saying what happened was okay. It's not excusing the pain, the betrayal, the abandonment, or the harsh words that cut deep. Forgiveness is strength. It's the decision to no longer carry what was never yours to hold. It's choosing to release someone from the prison of your judgment so you can walk out of the prison of your own bitterness. Forgiveness doesn't change the past. It sets you free from being chained to it. In Bible, we are said that we must forgive others just as God has forgiven us. That isn't just a command, it's a pathway to healing. Because unforgiveness doesn't punish the other person. It poisons your spirit, it clouds your vision, it slows your progress. When you hold on to resentment, it shows up in how you see people, how you trust, how you dream, how you love. Forgiveness clears the lens. It lets you breathe again. It lifts the weight off your chest and makes room for peace to move back in. Many people think forgiveness is a feeling they have to wait for, but forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a decision. You don't wait until the pain is gone to forgive. You forgive so the healing can begin. Some wounds will never make sense. Some people may never say they're sorry, but you don't need their apology to walk in freedom. You just need to say, I won't carry this anymore. That's not weakness. That's warfare. Because when you forgive, you break cycles. You stop passing on pain. You become the interruption that says, this ends with me. There will always be people who don't understand what they did, who never own their part, who keep repeating the same patterns. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to keep them in your inner circle. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. It means releasing your heart from captivity. It means you can remember what happened without reliving the pain. It means you can see their name, hear their voice, or pass them on the street without your soul flinching. That's healing. In Bible, we are said to forgive so that we too may be forgiven. It's not a suggestion, it's a principle of the kingdom. And when you apply it, even when it's hard, something sacred happens. Your hands become free to build again. Your mind becomes clear to dream again. Your heart becomes open to love again. That's the power of forgiveness. It doesn't just change your relationship with the past, it restores your future. The secret to never getting angry or bothered by anyone lies not in changing the world around you, but in mastering the world within you. When you build your foundation on peace, discipline, worth, and forgiveness, you become unshakable. The chaos may still swirl, the noise may still come, but you are no longer controlled by it. You walk in authority, not reaction. You choose clarity over confusion, purpose over pettiness, love over resentment. In the Bible, we are said that those who trust in the Lord will be like a tree planted by the water, unmovable, steadfast. That's who you're becoming, a soul rooted so deeply in truth that no storm can uproot you. Every day you choose not to be triggered, not to retaliate, not to carry bitterness. You're choosing freedom, and that freedom becomes your strength, your shield, and your testimony. This is the life you were meant to live. Peaceful, powerful, and unbothered.